Here's the mindful man on a crazy stormy day, reading my work to make myself feel better. Because sometimes you just have to try to be busy to cope with things. Here's my book on Amazon KDP, DOORMAT, Chapter 7, Biscuits. I'm going to try and read it to the end, but I do get out of breath. I must get overexcited. She loved chocolate biscuits, especially digestives, and she loved to dunk them in a hot tea and to let the chocolate melt dreamily into it. It looked lovely, she thought, as she popped another one into her mouth. It was impossible not to reach for another. In time, Anna grew bigger and bigger, but she didn't care. Jerry looked at her with a bemused and an annoyed frown, but she just sat in his favourite armchair and put on his huge, expensive headphones. Anna was glad that he didn't want to talk to her, and so she could sit in the kitchen and watch the portable TV and always be near the food cupboards. On TV, they all seemed to have such glamorous lives, and hers was so dull and lonely that she couldn't help sinking even lower. And every time she popped another digestive into her mouth, she felt a little better. They were her drug of choice, she thought. The more biscuits she ate, the more she put on weight, but she was past caring, and one miserable morning she stood on the scales and the arrow went round as if a giant hippopotamus had fallen on it all the way from Mars. So in a very big huff, Anna picked up the scales and she put them outside in the dustbin. Time for a digestive, she said, and she sat down after a rare bit of exercise. Anna's husband began to take even less interest in her. The more that she put on weight, the less interest he showed. It was a vicious circle. Every night he'd be coming in late and missing his dinner, which made Anna even more angry and miserable. And so she ended up eating his dinner as well. Waste not, want not, she'd say, as she popped the last piece into her mouth, and Anna never told him that she ate all his dinner, as that would have led to even more rows. Every night she watched the clock moving slowly, and each night it got later and later. And then one evening he never came home. At midnight the phone rang, and he explained that he had met someone special and that he wouldn't be coming back. Anna dropped the phone in shock, and then she forced herself off the sofa. It wasn't easy with all of her weight. This is definitely a cake situation, she said to herself, through quivering lips and tears. It was her favourite cake, chocolate, and she dove into it like a hungry panda. Every time that she felt a wave of pain, she took another huge bite, and pretty soon she had eaten nearly half of the cake, and she was full to burst. Anna felt like she had eaten a bouncy castle. She was that stuffed. Did she feel better? Just a little bit. Then she ripped up all of the wedding photos. Damn him, she said as she finished off a pint of milk, and the cake had made her too tired to watch TV. And so she waddled off to bed like a sad penguin. Her head crushed the pillow, and she stared at the ceiling in despair. A despair far deeper than any she'd ever known. Please don't let me wake up ever again, she prayed. And then all was dark. But she did wake up. She had no intention of getting out of bed apart from going to the toilet. My life is over, she thought sadly, and she was glad. Anna stared at the curtains, and she could see the changes of the day, and she could hear the sound of the birds, but they brought her no pleasure. Anna spent the whole day in bed, and she didn't even feel hungry. She was so full of so much surplus fat that she had lots to spare. All that she did was to stare at the ceiling and daydream and think. It was as if she was waiting for something to happen, but she didn't know what. It was the spark of life. Every now and again she would waddle to the toilet and then go under the covers. They were a comfort to her. Anna fell back to sleep easily, and she did it for the next 3 days. She heard the telephone ring, ignored it. She heard the trains go by in the distance and ignored them. Anna had got to the stage where she didn't care about anything, only sleep, beautiful sleep. On the third day she began to get a little bored, and when she heard the happy shouts outside, she began to get annoyed and then angry. Why the bloody hell am I rotting in bed, she said out loud, while everyone else is having fun? She thought bitterly. Anna began to remember how she used to be when she was young, how positive and full of life she was. What have I become, she said to herself, and she began to cry, but the tears were tears of rage.